Hey everybody, welcome to HomeRecordingMadeEasy.com and here on my YouTube channel. And this is part 2 of our new Pro Tools series. Does Pro Tools still suck 10 years later? Boy, oh boy, the first video caused a whole lot of controversy, and that's great. And so we have a couple of things that are, I read every one of the comments on the video thus far, and there's been lots of comments, over 100 comments so far, which is fantastic. And I appreciate everybody sharing your experiences, the pros, the cons, the good, the bad, the indifferent. That's awesome. And some of the Pro Tools users that left some comments cleared me up on a couple of things, which is great. And I appreciate it. We'll talk about that in a second. And then we'll talk about what we're going to do in this week's video. And then we'll move forward. Okay. So first of all, again, thank you so much for watching the first video. Thanks for participating. Couple of things I want to clear up. Now, the first and the foremost, unfortunately, you have to say these things, but I just want to try to get this out of the way. If you are a person or an individual who feels that they need to write a nasty, vulgar, with nasty language comment over a video about a DAW, I feel sorry for you. And your comment will be deleted. No one will ever see it, okay? So if you feel like, stop typing right now. If you're one of those people that are here typing feverishly, oh my God, David's this, David's that, I gotta type. Stop and leave. No one's gonna see your comment. You're not gonna offend me, and hit the thumbs down and take off, okay? We don't need that. I do that on all my videos, okay? If anyone leaves any kind of nasty comments or, you know, is rude to my followers or to me, we don't want you here, okay? So let's get that out of the way. That does not mean we can't have a spirited debate. That doesn't mean we can't disagree and we can't banter back and forth. I want to do that. That's awesome. And for the guys and the gals who, even in the first video, you know, we're going back and forth, but it was done in a respectful, as an adult way. Wonderful. That's awesome. Keep doing it. We can debate, you know, I don't mean I'm not right about everything. So I'm willing to talk to you, but don't be nasty. Be respectful. It's a shame you have to say that, but believe me, you have to. And the larger this YouTube channel gets, and I'm still a tiny YouTube channel, it astonishes me what a very small percentage of people are willing to do behind a keyboard. But it's funny. I was talking to a few of my colleagues who have channels that are much bigger than mine, and we were talking about it after the first video and some of the comments that I got that no one ever saw. And there was only a handful of them. Some of those larger channels says, Dave, you've seen nothing yet. Wait till you get to 75, 100,000 subscribers. Your whole outlook on humanity will change. It's a shame. So anyway, enough about that. So that's great. Thank you so much for the participation. Okay, second thing. The first video, obviously, I was downloading the Pro Tools first version, the free version, okay? And a couple of things that came up in that video that some of my Pro Tools followers and my Pro Tools students have corrected me on, and this is great, and I want to clear this up. We know that Pro Tools first, at least currently, does not work with Catalina. I'm not sure why. So I assumed by that video, wrongfully so, I guess, that all the versions of Pro Tools don't work with Catalina, but that's not true. According to some of my students, the standard version and I think it's called the Suite version or the Deluxe version, their top tiered version, works with Catalina just fine for them. So that's something to know. Okay, that's great. They also made some suggestions, and in hindsight, they're correct. They said, you know, Dave, comparing Pro Tools first is okay, but if you really want to do a fair comparison, you probably should use the standard version at the very least. You can do that for 30 days, so I don't need to pay for it. And also then I should probably try to, you know, recreate the same conditions that I had when I used to use Pro Tools, meaning when I would mix stuff in Pro Tools, I would use stock plugins as well as a lot of third-party plugins, which I can't do with the Pro Tools first version. And with Pro Tools first, you're only limited to only 16 tracks. So I can only import a session with 16 tracks or less. And the song I wanted to use had 30 or 35 tracks. So I thought, you know, that makes a lot of sense. Why don't we use the standard version? I can download it for free, which I've done, and we'll see that in a second. And I'll try to, as we get into this series, use again some third-party plugins along with stock plugins to kind of recreate the same conditions that I used to have when I used to use Pro Tools, okay? And then we'll see, and that might be a better apples to apples comparison, and maybe the standard version or the Suite version will be more stable in that it's just different than the Pro Tools first version, because some Pro Tools users were saying that when you use Pro Tools first, it's kind of working with the internet and the cloud, which I'm not quite clear on how all that works, which is totally fine. And that might be some of the reason they were saying why when you go to boot up Pro Tools, it took so long for it to boot up, that they don't typically have that problem. So fair enough. So that's what I did. So I went out to Avid and I've upgraded to the 30-day free trial of the, I think it's the Suite version. They give you the whole kit and caboodle version for 30 days. And I've downloaded that. Okay. And I created a session already and I imported some files, but what I want to show you here, again, to just be fair and balanced. As I said, this is a fair and balanced test. This is not a Pro Tools bashing series. That's not what this is. Pro Tools is going to work well for me or it's not going to work well for me. I am not in any control of that. We're going to let the facts speak for themselves. And am I a little biased about Pro Tools? Of course I am. I left Pro Tools because it was a nightmare way back in the day. And I am a very happy Studio One user. So be it. Hey, it's my channel. I can do what I want, right? So anyhow, I'm going to open up the session right now. So I'm going to launch down here. You'll see. We're going to launch Pro Tools. And I will say up front, unless it crashes right now, which I don't think it will, it was a lot better as far as the way it opened. Okay, so I got the free version of Pro Tools Ultimate because that's what when I downloaded the standard version, I guess they give you the Ultimate version. So it is loading all my plugins. And I will say that the first time this thing opened up much, much faster than the Pro Tools first version, which was good to see. Okay, so here we are. We're loading it all up. It's loading up my Waves plugins because I do have a lot of AAX plugins on my system from when I downloaded the other bundles. I didn't even realize that. So here we go. Let's see. Loading expand. This is about how long Cubase and Studio One take. Okay, there we go. So that is, unlike the first video, no different than what I would have experienced with Studio One or Cubase or Logic as far as booting up. Okay, so that's fair. That's fair. So I did create a session. We're going to do a song this time by the band Nerve 9, Living a Lie. It's like a pop rock ballad kind of a tune. Okay, so I'm going to open this. I'm going to show you what I've done so far. We're going to open it. Quick. Okay, so again, fair and balanced. That opened as quick as any other DAW. No crashing. Great. You can see I've imported some audio in this off camera, although I could have gone through and watched, again, trying to keep these videos. I don't want to get too into the minutia. This is 35 tracks. I imported them all at once. They imported just fine. No crashing, no hiccups. They imported like you would expect. Wonderful. And I've color coded these tracks already, again, just to try to stay, somewhat, reasonable as far as the length of this video. So if I do Command equals, this will bring up my mixer. So in this thing, we have a drum kit here. Okay, we have a kick. Kick, snare top, snare side microphone, snare bottom, 3 snare mics, will be interesting. Hi-hat 2, a ride, an overhead, tom 1, 2, and 3, rooms, a tambourine, a chimes. We have basses, 7 different guitar tracks. Okay, we have a lead vocal 1 and 2, and then we have a slew of background vocals. Background vocal 1 through background vocal 7, and some of those have doubles on them. Okay, so there's a bunch of background vocal tracks here in orange. And then in purple, I created some auxes, some buses. Okay, and then I created a master fader. Okay, so drum bus, bass bus, guitar bus, lead vocal bus, background vocal bus. Okay, and again, all of that worked just fine. So if I hit Command equals and get rid of, Command. Interesting. Okay, again, let me get my headphones on so we could just do a quick listen. Again, this is not a series about the workflow, whether I like the workflow, whether it's better or worse than any other DAW in that respect. That's not what this is. This is about, does it run stable? Can I run some plugins? Can we mix a song? So here's kind of the song that we're dealing with, just to give you a kind of an idea. Okay, and I created a bunch of groups here for my buses just to make things easy as far as turning things down. Okay, so that's what we're dealing with. Pretty cool tune, well recorded, no big deal. Okay, so that's what we have going on so far. So everything is down here in buses, and then we have a master bus that I created here. No other plugins. The only plugin that I put on here was the meter by Plugin Alliance on the master bus, so we can use that a little bit later. So the first thing I want to do here in this video is we're just going to kind of set up what we're going to put on our maybe our buses as far as plugins on our master bus. We'll set that up, and then in the next video we'll come back and we'll start working on the drums. We'll start doing some phase correction with some third-party plugins. We'll use a combination of some of the third-party plugins that I would typically use, and we'll work through this. Okay, so on the master bus here, we'll put the meter down here on the ends. Okay, and we're going to go over here. First thing we're going to do is we're probably going to use, we'll use a third-party plugin. We're going to use Slate Digital's Virtual Console Collection. And again, for me, I'm going to try to forgive me if any fumbling around I'm doing in Pro Tools, because I'm just not familiar with it the way I used to be. Where is this? This would be the VBC, Virtual, no, we want the VMR. Where is that? I thought I had the AX version of that. Maybe I do not. Virtual Mix Rack. Yeah, there we go. Okay. In Studio One, it says VMR. It just looks different. So again, okay, here we go. So we're going to start with the Virtual Console Collection. I'm going to put the bus on. And I'll show you my playback engine settings in a second for people who haven't watched the first video. And if you haven't watched the first video, go watch it if you want. It'll be listed below in the playlist. So we're going to maybe stick on the SSL here just because we can. Why not? We'll put everything to group 1. Okay, that'll be our first plugin. Let me show you let me just save this. Let me show you my playback engine and my buffer settings so people know we're running at 256 samples. Again, we may have to tweak that. It may need to go higher once we start adding a bunch of plugins. Again, that's very typical, but I wanted to start right in the middle. My interface is a Universal Audio Apollo 8 for anyone who wants to know. Okay, and so we're going to do that. Okay, so the second plugin we're going to use after this is we're going to probably go to a compressor. Again, I'll just pick stuff that I'm familiar with. And again, we will use a lot of Avid plugins because I want to use some of those as well. We're not going to use all third-party plugins. We're going to mix it up as we go along. I'm going to go with the FG Mu. I like this one. Okay. And I like this preset called Glue. We're going to start there. And the other thing, people had said in the comments, which I thought was funny, that it almost sounded like in the first video, I'm hoping it's going to fail. Little secret, I'm hoping that it's not going to fail. I would love to see that this is more stable than what it was way back in the day when I used to use it. Does that mean I'm going to switch and go to Pro Tools? Even if it's rock solid, I wouldn't. Why? Because I like the workflow of Studio One much better for me personally. But if you like the workflow of Pro Tools, you should use Pro Tools. Remember, I've said a million times on this channel, if you've been following me for any length of time, the DAW in and of itself doesn't matter. What works for you and what you're used to and what's stable for you and what you like, you can make great music in any DAW, right? So it doesn't really matter. I hope that this thing works well. I would hate to see it fail miserably. That would be disappointing, to be quite honest. Okay, we're going to put another plugin on here. It's amazing some of the comments that people leave. Wow, you just really wonder. But most of you guys are wonderful and you're awesome, and you guys really like this, and this is great. Okay, so here we're going to put, virtual tape machine. Okay, we're going to go on the 1/2 inch. Okay, we're going to go to 15 IPS per second. That's where we're going to start. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So far, so good. No problems. Everything's loading wonderfully as you would expect it to. Okay, on our drum bus, we're going to put, again, we'll just on the drum bus, we'll put something that I'm really familiar with. Again, we'll go with Slate Digital, the FG Gray, because I really like that. But we're not going to do all Slate Digital plugins. We're going to use a lot of them, but not all of them. We're going to go to a 2-to-1 ratio for now. We're going to do a faster release. We're going to do a slower attacking, and we're just setting things up here. Alrighty. And then what I'll probably do, which I would typically do on my buses. See, I'm thinking about how would I typically do this back in the day, or in how I would mix now on all of my channels. I would probably put a tape machine as the first plugin, then a console collection. And then after that, I would start using some EQ and compressors, maybe even some channel strips. I don't think I'm going to get that heavy this video. I think I'd like to use for EQ and compression, at least on some of the stuff. I'd like to use some of the Avid stuff, but I think to give it kind of that analog vibe, I do want to use the Virtual Console, and I do want to use, maybe not a tape machine on all the tracks. Maybe we'll just use a tape machine on the buses. Let's do that. And again, you can do this a million different ways. Just trying to, because I want to use a fair amount of plugins, because most of yous would. So on the buses, I'm going to go with the 16 track. We'll go with 30 IPS per second. Okay. Save this. Now, if I remember this right, again, it's been a while. Now you got to hold Option, right? Option, we'll just bring it over. Yeah, there we go. See, the shortcuts are coming back. Okay, so we're going to put tape machines on just the buses. Okay, we'll also put, we're going to do a console bus compressor or a console emulation. Maybe not. The other thing I want to look at too, just to see, because I'm just curious. Again, I'll try to, where appropriate, do some of this stuff off camera so you don't have to, I don't have to waste your time. But we are going to do this in real time because a lot of people have already, not a lot, 2 people have already accused me of that. Oh, I'm just going to edit out the video and show you the things that are not going to work well. We're going to do this in real time. I'm going to show you exactly what's going on. I'm not here to do any phony editing. That's not what I do, man. If you've been following me for any length of time, I'm about the most honest YouTuber as far as reviewing stuff that you'll ever find. Nobody pays me to tell you what's good and what's not good. I tell you my honest opinion. Doesn't mean you need to agree with me. What is it? System usage? Yeah, that's what it is. I just want to see the total CPU, just curious. So right now we're at around 8%. Okay, CPU, and it tells you, okay, this is cool. Just wanted to kind of keep an eye on that. I'm just curious to see. Performance, kind of like the performance meter. All right, so let's see. So on our buses, we have this. On our regular channels, even though we're going to use Auto Align for our drums, let's drop on our plugins that we're going to use, at least across the drums. Let's put the Virtual Console as our second plugin here, because I'm going to use Auto Align as the first one in the next video. So let's do that. Let's put our Slate Digital. We want the virtual VMR, right? Virtual mix rack, right? That's what we want. And we're going to go to group 1. Okay, so it's on the same as the bus. And we're going to put that across all our drums. Let me just do a save, and let me just do an Option. Now, can I do, again, I don't remember. It's been a long time. Highlight all the tracks, and I should be able to do Option, and it should copy them over all. Oh, no, maybe it doesn't. Oh, do I have to group them first? Don't remember. Again, it's been a long time, guys. I'm sorry. Nope. Option. Okay, so how do I drop plugins on multiple channels? I know, again, I know there's a way, and I know some angry Pro Tools user is going to come and yell and scream at me in the comments, and I don't know what I'm doing. What does it say? The plugin cannot be copied because there are plugins. Number of input channels does not match. I'm not sure what that means. Okay, maybe I just did something incorrect here. Let me just hold Option. I should be able to drag this over. Okay, this is interesting. So I'm not sure what this means. The plugin cannot be copied there because the plugin's number of input channels does not match. What does that mean? It's the same as the other input channels. The plugin's input channels does not match. Can I just put a new instance on it? Let's see. Again, I've never seen that before, so I'm just curious. Oh, I see why. Oh, okay, yeah, because it's a stereo track and the other ones are monos. Right. Okay, that's a little, oh, wrong plugin, sorry. That's a little different. You don't typically would see that. No insert. Okay, yeah, that's something a little different that I wouldn't experience in something like Studio One. Because this is a stereo track, you need to make sure that you're using a stereo instance of the plugin with Slate Digital. That's like that also with, in Studio One, okay, there it goes. In Studio One, when you're using like waves or universal audio, you want to make sure that if you're using if it's going on a stereo track, you use a stereo instance of the plugin, mono. In Pro Tools, which I remember this now, you can't try with Slate Digital in Studio One anyway. You could just drag it onto any track and it knows whether it should be the stereo version or the mono version. In Pro Tools, it doesn't. And I just forgot that. That is absolutely true. So now I should be able to copy this over to the Tom. There we go. Okay. So if I find another stereo track, I'll have to copy the stereo instance of it. And that just makes sense. Okay. So here we go. All right, so let's save that. So that looks good. Okay, good. So that all looks good. Okay, so we're going to put that on as the first instance. We're also going to put, let's see. So we're also going to put that across. Yeah, we'll just start with the drums for now. We're also going to go ahead and we're going to put Sound Radix on these as well, auto align, because we're going to phase correct the drums in the next video. So let's do that. So this is the overhead. So we got to use the stereo version. And I have these sorted by manufacturer. When you open up Pro Tools as a default, it will sort it by the type of effect. I like to do it by manufacturer just because it's easier for me to find things with all the plugins that I have. Okay, so we have this. So the first thing we're going to do, hold on a second here. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put these on all the other tracks as well. So let's start with the kick. Oops, not here. It's going to be the first insert. Plugin Sound Radix. Okay, and then we're going to copy this over with Option. And I know there's got to be a way to drop it on multiple tracks. All right, because we're going to align everything. We're going to do the toms as well. Okay. The room is a mono. Yes. The tambo we're not going to do. Okay. So there we go. So now we got all of that. We'll save that. Okay. So now let's take a look at our, again, just for my sanity, CPU is total of 8%. Okay. That's respectable. Okay. That's great. Okay. So now the first thing we're going to do, take a look at how long this video is. Oh, we're at 22 minutes already. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to end this video here. Okay, so far we've loaded up a session. It loaded much faster than what Pro Tools first did and on par to things that I would expect from any DAW. Again, loaded all 35 tracks in at the same time. No crashing, no problems. And I used to have that problem way back in the day. Not on every session, but on some sessions. You try to load multiple audio files, it would take forever. It would get hung up. That worked perfectly. And we've dropped on quite a few plugins here with no issues whatsoever. So come back for next video and we will start using the processing. We'll phase correct the drums. We'll start mixing the drums. We'll do that maybe over a 2-part video. So I want to hear from you below. Again, remember, be respectful, be kind, debate, disagree. It's all cool. Just don't be vulgar and nasty, because if you're going to do that, I'm going to delete the comment. But I want to know, again, if you're a Pro Tools user and you have some helpful advice for me or have some suggestions on how I can also make this a more fair and balanced test, because that's what I really want to do here, let me know below. Doesn't mean I'm going to listen to every single person and take everybody's advice if I don't feel that it's valid, but I want to hear from you, so let me know. If you're not a Pro Tools user, and I got a lot of comments after the first video how people had a lot of the same issues I had and they left Pro Tools and I'll never look back, they said. Okay, that's fair. That's a fair opinion. But hey, what do you think? If you find, that Pro Tools is much more stable today and this test goes well over the next several videos, what do you think? Would you ever consider going back to Pro Tools at all? Maybe you would, maybe you wouldn't. I'm curious to know what all of you think. So definitely leave comments below. And if this is the first video that you're watching here at Home Recording Made Easy, thank you so much for joining. I want you to go out to homerecordingmadeeasy.com. I have the link in the description box. Get your 5 free mixing training courses. It's my gift to you just for visiting homerecordingmadeeasy.com. Check that out. And also, if you're new to Home Recording Made Easy, or if you've been around for a long time, and you're looking for some extra training this time of the year, I have a coupon code in the description box. YouTube25 will take 25% off any one of the training courses on my website. So until next week, I've been Dave with homerecordingmadeeasy.com, and I will see you all soon. Take care, everybody.